So, reboots. I've said a million times, a reboot is basically when you take something that had potential and just didn't live up to that potential. I say it with video games because there's a lot of video games out there that, Nintendo era, like the original Nintendo, that where they had a great concept, they just weren't able to fully realize it because of obvious limitations. I just played through Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, the PC port of it. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, wouldn't it be great if like you could go to Kyushu afterwards? So in the game, which is only like 5 hours long, which is bad because it's a great game. So expanding on the game to make it longer would also be great for a reboot or a remake. But during the story, you have to go to Kyushu. You get to the bridge to cross over to it. Omitsu comes over and she's like, "Oh yeah, I got a delivery over in Kyushu. I'll see you guys later." And she crosses the bridge. The bridge breaks. The bridge breaks, and Kyushu rises up into the air, disappears, and it's now transformed into one of Dancing and Lily's stages, right? But wouldn't it be great at the end of the game? It says, "Would you like to save?" Yeah, and then you start back in Edo Town and you're now able to, head over to where the bridge for Kyushu is and cross the bridge and actually go visit Kyushu. Um, Something like that. Something where you have a concept that they might have wanted to do, but couldn't due to hardware limitations. Or again, the game is only 4 hours long, 4 or 5 hours long. Having more RPG elements to it, making the weapon upgrades feel more meaningful, not just, oh, hey, here's level 3 of this weapon. Now you can use it to go break a busted door. It just, you have this whole map of Japan, but it's very small in scope. And so it's like remake that game and fully realize with the hardware and that stuff we have nowadays, it would be an amazing game. Keep true to what the game is, the humor, the Japanese humor, uh, exploration, obviously, the story. The story is good enough, but just that, but a vast open world where you explore Japan. That would be a purpose of a remake, taking something that had possibilities and just didn't meet those possibilities. Quest 64, I also said was a great choice because we see what they were trying to do and it could have worked out. So if someone was to remake Quest 64, I think it could turn out better than what it did. It just felt incomplete. Like they had all these ideas and a great story that they wanted to tell. It's just, it didn't pan out very well. But why modern reboots are failing, what that says about us. Well, who's us? You mean the people who continue to pay to see them? The people who think that the audience is stupid enough to want to keep seeing these things? I mean, who is us? There used to be a time when entertainment was built around the story, a real one. Someone sat down with an idea worth exploring, characters worth rooting for, and a journey worth following. That was foundation. That's where everything started. The story was the real reason the project existed. Yeah, that's what I mean. We do these things for emotional reasons. We want to feel happy or sad or scared or, because of story or character or whatever. We don't want to just go in and be like, huh, okay, well, I saw it. No, you want to feel emotionally invested. Reboots, especially we've seen with Disney, they're just soulless remakes. No one goes in and comes out afterwards like, "Oh man, I'm so glad I saw that. I felt like I was a kid again." They're like, "Huh, well, it's a thing. I'll just go watch the 1988 original." Um, the story was the reason for the project. The project existed. Everything else, like casting, marketing, visual effects, came later, built on the bones of a compelling narrative. These days, it's the exact opposite. Now the story is an afterthought, something hastily assembled after the trailer is dropped, the teaser poster has trended, and the casting announcement have divided Twitter. It's not art anymore, it's content. Algorithm approved, boardroom tested, message forward content. And in the process, something essential has been lost. Yeah, again, look at Disney. Perfect example. They keep making all these live action remakes and reboots and this and that. Have any of them worked? No. And yet they keep doing it because people are stupid. And and Disney knows, Hollywood knows that those morons will continue to just nom everything they push out. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be entertaining. It doesn't have to be put together well. As long as it has a message that they agree with, they'll just continue to eat it up. They'll just nom 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 nom. Thank you, sir. May I have another? You can feel it nearly in every major franchise reboot. The heart is gone. The soul is missing. What's left? What we're left with is a product that is polished, promoted, and painfully hollow. I've said before, again, Disney. Disney used to be imagination, innovation, inspiration. Nowadays, it's none of those. It's none of those. Remember when we'd see a Disney movie come out and just sit there in awe and how amazing the animation looked? Now it's like, oh hey guys, live action remake of your favorite classics. Oh boy. Oh boy. Um Nowhere in this shift was more obvious than in a modern reboot. We're living in a cultural moment where studios aren't reviving beloved franchises because they have something meaningful to say. They're reviving them because the name holds just enough nostalgic power. Yeah, exactly. They're preying on this nostalgia. Hey guys, you know that movie from the 80s that you all grew up with and loved? Well, now you get to re-experience that in live action. Take your kids to see and let them experience the same magic that you felt when you were their age. But then it's just this soulless reboot. It's not charming, it's not imaginative, it's not captivating, it's not inspirational. Again, you'll walk out like, huh, okay, I saw it. And being an adult doesn't mean you lose your sense of wonder. You can still feel captivated and inspired and enthralled when you see these kinds of things. You don't get to 40, 50 years old and sitting I hate Disney. No, you still feel the same magic you felt when you were a kid. That's why people see movies like that. But that's not what they're going for. They're not trying to recapture that magic. Um, the stream to pre-order is not about honoring what made the original matter. It's about monetizing the memory because they think people are stupid, and unfortunately, a lot of them are. And to make sure the click checks all the right boxes, they reshape the reboot around whatever message or movement is trending that week. But instead of breathing new life into the story, they gut it, dress it up in modern buzzwords, and call it progressive. Then, when the backlash inevitably comes, the response is always the same. Audiences just aren't ready for this. They'll call you phobes, this, and isms. They'll say, oh, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Oh, it's not meant for you. Then who's it for then? The very, very small 0.0001% of people who give a flying fuck about messages like this? Like, who is this movie for then? Who is this game for? Who is this TV show for? Who's this comic for? Because if you intend on pushing away the majority, you're clearly pandering to the minority, which even then, you're not going to succeed the way you want. Because most of the time, the things you're pandering in are things that side isn't even going to watch or pay attention to. No audiences just want a good story, a story that respected the characters, a story that understood why the original mattered in the first place, a story that wasn't written by a committee trying to maximize engagement metrics. The Last Nazi, a Cole Hopper adventure. It looks like Brendan Fraser. Kind of like a mummy vibe there. That's why I said it. He could do that. Especially now. He's looking good now. Looks like he's getting back into shape, and he said something about if they came out with like a Mummy 4, he'd be on board to do it. But yeah, get him to do something like that. Let's look at the clearest examples. If there's a case study on how storytelling has been replaced by content, it's Disney. The live action remakes aren't just creatively bankrupt, they're emotionally tone deaf. The Little Mermaid, Peter Pan and Wendy, Snow White, obviously he just listed a few of them, but pretty much everything. Lion King, What other ones? Like what was Cinderella? I think one of them. Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Pinocchio. All these movies that have come out, no one remembers or cares about because of how soulless they were. Peter Pan didn't need to be reinterpreted as a metaphor for colonial guilt. It was a story about childhood, about freedom, about the untethered joy of imagination. Nobody watches Peter Pan to unpack post colonial trauma. They watch it because they feel like they can fly again. Exactly. Just because you're an adult, you're not going to watch an old Disney movie and feel absolutely nothing. If you're watching The Lion King, right, and it gets to the part where, spoiler alert, Mufasa dies, you're still going to feel emotional. You've seen it a million times. But there, even now, sitting there as a fucking 40-something-year-old, you're still going to feel emotional about it. I'm sure that scene in the live action movie is like, oh, well, I knew this was coming. Why does Simba look like no emotion? You know, the animated version, you could show so much emotion on their faces, but now they're like, oh, hey, let's just make them look like regular lions and, completely give up the lack of facial expression. So you have this pivotal scene in the movie where it's like, okay, okay, well, it happened. If only for an hour or two. Then there's Snow White. The live action remake has been retooled so many times. Yeah. You know, you have Snow White and the Huntsman with Kristen Stewart, which people actually say is way better than what they got with this. Um, the lead actress publicly mocked the original, calling it outdated and creepy. Weird, weird. The studio seems embarrassed by the very thing they're adapting. That's not reinvention, that's erasure. And that's the core problem. You don't get to wear the skin of something iconic and then act offended when the audiences expect it to be the thing that it's named after. Yeah. Kind of like when they had He-Man, and then, like, apparently they kill off He-Man, like, the first episode, or Scott Pilgrim, same thing. They kill him off, like, the first episode. It's like, no, we're watching He-Man for He-Man. We're watching Scott Pilgrim for Scott Pilgrim. That's like having the show called, oh, I don't know, Naruto, and then killing off Naruto in the first episode. It makes no sense. When people watch those things like He-Man or whatever, that's what they're expecting. You know, when people watch Naruto, they expect to see Naruto. So you can't sell nostalgia while sneering the past. These remakes don't feel like they were made by people who love the originals. They feel like they were made by people who are embarrassed by them, and it shows, yeah. The freaking guilt these people have over everything. Oh my god, white people. Oh my god, the Native American people, stolen land. No. Also, it wasn't stolen. The white man and the Native Americans fought over it. The white man won. It was conquered, not stolen. Big difference. And people seem to think that all those Native Americans were all peaceful and they're all shaking each other's hands like, I'll give you this land. No, they killed each other for land too. But it's only wrong when white people do it, apparently. Um, so much guilt from these people. Like, everything offends them. This is where things get complicated, not because it's difficult to understand, but because people want it to be different. Let's be clear, diversity is strength. Representation matters, but when you change a character's identity solely to send a message, yeah, we've been saying this. We don't care if the characters are black, trans, whatever, but you don't take an established character and just race swap them just to fit the message. If you're gonna make a reboot and it's a different telling of the story, why not just make a new character who's black? It's not hard. And make them a good character. Don't just make them, oh, we're going to make them us. Hey, guys, look, there's going to be a black character. And guess what? They're a sassy black character. Oh, wow. A sassy black character? Totally original. We're going to have gay representation. And then you watch it, and it's just, hey, bitches, I'm flamboyantly gay. It's like, oh, wow, flamboyantly gay individual. Wow, completely original. That's what they do. They make characters who are, diverse, but then they're just stereotypes. And then when people like us call it out, we're the ones who get called racist. Not the people who are stereotyping black people as sassy, loud, and all that. No, us. We're the ones getting called out, saying that we're the racist ones. Not the studios who are stereotyping the black community. No, the ones calling it out. Because apparently people are so fucking stupid, they like being stereotyped. Ghostbusters 20. And then there's remakes that don't need to happen because no one was asking for them. 2016's Ghostbusters. No one was asking for it. If your entire story falls apart the moment someone questions your casting choices, then maybe you didn't have a story to begin with. Changing a character's race, gender, or sexuality doesn't automatically make them interesting. What makes a great character great is depth, conflict, and humanity. These things that make us care. If you're going to spend an hour and a half in a movie or several episodes or 100+ hours in a game with a certain character, you want to feel connected to them. You can't feel connected to a character just because they identify a certain way. They need to have the personality to make them, interesting enough to where you care about them. You can't say, oh, well, they're trans. Okay. Why should I care about them? Well, they're trans. Okay, great. They're trans. What about them should I fucking care about? I'm not going to care about a person just because they're trans. You know? But Hollywood, filled with all these college educated, free thinking, creative types, apparently too fucking incapable and stupid to make creative characters anymore. Audiences aren't rejecting inclusion, they're rejecting tokenism. Another troubling trend in modern reboots is the obsession with deconstructing legacy characters. Not to challenge them, not to evolve them, but to break them. To tear down what they stood for. Like, Luke Skywalker or Indiana Jones. Where having these strong men, nowadays, now they're being told what to do by the strong, powerful woman. Because women are just as capable as men. We all know that, but there's no need to constantly show it on screen. Where you have to have the woman constantly put a man in his place and, ugh, you men would be lost without us. I just, Luke Skywalker didn't need to be a disillusioned hermit who gave up everything he believed in. Those are the two I just mentioned. Like, I didn't read this beforehand. And I wasn't looking, like, I was looking at the camera. Exactly. Exactly. I'm looking at this. I didn't even read the next part. That's funny that they also mentioned Luke and Indiana Jones, because those are two of the biggest examples of what we're talking about, how these characters who were once great are now being put in their place by strong, powerful women, being, you know, James Bond, I think, has been getting like that. What's another one? Pretty much, if it's a legacy character, if it's a male character that's been around for ages, yeah, they're being put in their place by women. Strong, powerful women. He-Man didn't need to be. I said that way earlier. Didn't need to be killed off in the first episode of Masters of the Universe just to make room for someone newer, someone better, someone more in line with today's messaging. These aren't brave choices, they're lazy ones. They don't add complexity, they subtract meaning, they don't offer growth. They replace inspiration with resentment. Um, yeah. I mean, you pretty much get what it's going for. The idea of a reboot implies that there is something wrong with the original version and something that needs to be changed. So it's a derivative work from the start. I can't think of any of which really improve things. Any which really improve things, and of course there's a propaganda angle which will subvert the message of the source. Yeah, it's like it's what I said what this person just said, where you take something that needs to be fixed, where it had the potential, but it just didn't get to reach that potential due to, you know, the time that it came out, the era it came out, or for games, software, hardware limitations. That's the point of reboots. Making an all-female Ghostbusters that no one wanted, no one asked for, just to, oh, well, women are just as capable. We know that. We know women are capable. We've had Sigourney Weaver. We've had Jamie Lee Curtis. We had Lucy Lawless. We had Linda Carter. We had all these women who are strong, powerful. We know women are capable. All this is going to do is like, why? And then when you ask why, it's like, oh, you must hate women. And then you say that, and like a dude who has fucking Xena, warrior princess poster in his fucking room, it's like, you hear that, Luce? You hear what this bitch is fucking saying? I hate strong women. You know? It's like the dude will have like Linda Carter, a Wonder Woman. He was like, you hear that, Linda? You hear what that dude's saying? They think I hate strong women. You know, we don't hate strong women. We hate poorly written strong women. Strong or women who are created for the sole purpose of trying to outdo men. We know women are capable. We know that they're able to do things that men can do. We're not stupid. But when you make a story that's centered around just that, trying to put men in their place, like, why did they make him a fucking goofball? A fucking moron? When even in the original Ghostbusters, Annie Potts, who played like the receptionist, she was strong and capable. So they respected the woman back in the original, but then they have to disrespect the guy in this one, make him a fucking idiot. Because that's how Hollywood sees straight white dudes. It's like, me dumb, me not know how to do things without woman creature around. So, again, go watch the original with Annie Potts, as like the receptionist and all that. She had no problem putting the men in their place. So even in the 80s, they were, respecting women to that extent. They just make it and like, oh yeah, let's make the straight white male a fucking moron. Because, oh, that's what men are. Because we're women and we can do anything. Where they've been taking real life, real world history type things like Anne Boleyn. Oh, let's just make her black, even though she was a real person. Let's just make her black. She was white. Apparently, there's a documentary, Netflix or something, from the BBC about this teen killer. The teen killer was black, but in this documentary, they made him white. I guess not to push racial stereotypes. So what's the point of race swapping? Because it's supposed to be that person, right? But then they race swap him to make him white. Oh, you don't want to push stereotypes. But reboots are just meant to take things that had potential and never got to live up to that potential due to the era that it came out, or maybe the people working on it just weren't able to fully show what they were going for, or hardware limitations when it comes to games. You don't just make a reboot like, oh yeah, we're going to make a reboot, and it's going to be 4 powerful women putting men in their place the whole time. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see it. But what do we know? We're just phobes, this and isms. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.